Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping linked up with China's private sector chiefs today in Beijing, where he stressed continuity in the country's economic development. Xi met e-commerce giant Alibaba CEO Jack Ma, who was at the center of the Chinese government crackdown on the tech industry in recent years. My countdown closer likes Alibaba stock despite the company's past regulatory boo-boos. And it is Great Hill Capital Chairman Thomas Hayes, who I'm pleased to say joins me now. All right, make your case for Alibaba.
Well, thank you, Taylor. Great to be with you. Look, this wasn't the perfect pick for us. We've been buying every single dip for the last 2 years. We bought in the hundreds. We backed up the truck in the 60s. So across all accounts, we're at about $83. So it's had a huge run in the last 5 weeks, up about 50%. Let it rest a little bit. They're going to report earnings on the 20th. Maybe if you get a pullback after earnings, you get a chance to get in. But this is a very special company in terms of valuation. Number one, it's the #1 cloud provider in China. It's also the #1 AI provider, which we saw in recent weeks with Apple linking up.
Can I stop you there and ask you? Because I just spent 2 hours with Kevin O'Leary on my earlier show, and he said this is in effect a game changer. Those are my words, not his. But the fact that you have an Apple device in China using Alibaba AI shows that there actually might be a partnership between the U.S. and China. Is that better for Apple or better for Alibaba?
I think it's better for both. It's the best model. They beat DeepSeek on many metrics. They beat OpenAI on many metrics. And Apple needs the government approval in China, and the government is approving Alibaba. Then that's just the icing on the cake. Let's talk about the cake. This is a huge play on the middle class recovery. They were in lockdown for many years. Taobao and Tmall. It's like being a toll taker for the bridge. Every dollar that the middle and upper class are going to spend in this recovery is going to go through Alibaba. Quite a few of those dollars are going through Alibaba. And then finally, we've always said, treat Alibaba as a China AI ETF. It's not just the partnership with Apple. They have equity stakes in many of the AI startups in China because they give them cloud computing service in exchange for equity. And a lot of people don't know that. Oh, and by the way, their international business, e-commerce business, is growing at 40% on top of it. Do you know, Taylor, you can buy this stock at 2014 prices. The difference is revenue is up 10x per share, cash flow is up 6x per share, and earnings are up 6x per share. So at a 12 times forward multiple, if you just re-rate, forget about growth, which they're going to have. If you just re-rate back to a normalized multiple of 24, this thing, sum of the parts, is worth well over $200, and it's probably going to take about 2+ years to get there in our view.
Okay, so need a little bit of a longer timeline if you want to hold on to the stock. So broaden out, particularly with the U.S. and Mag 7. You still bullish?
Well, you know, when we came on with you at the beginning of January, and I love coming on with you, Taylor, we said that maybe lighten up on the Mag 7. The broadening is going to continue. And what do we have year to date? We have S&P up 4%. We have Mag 7 up only 2%. So what have we seen? We saw the last shall be first. Materials have outperformed, up 6.8%. No, you couldn't give away materials. The market was up 20 some odd percent last year. Materials were basically flat. Healthcare is up 5.3%. So we definitely have some picks in those areas. You got to look a little more closely this year to get that outperformance than just buying the indices in Mag 7.
The theme of the last few years has been U.S. versus the rest of the world. Do you expect that to continue, or do you start to like emerging markets?
Yeah, that was a top of the year theme as well. I was privileged to speak with you about that as well. Well, look what's happened this year. Emerging markets is up 6.2% year to date. European equities, you would never guess this at the beginning of the year, Taylor, up 10.6%. Relative to the S&P 500, up 4%. This is a theme that is a regular theme, but we're all stuck in recency bias. We think U.S. stocks are going to outperform forever. Every 10 to 15 years, you get huge periods of 5-10 years of outperformance of international stocks. You had it in the Reagan administration. I think you're going to see it in the Trump administration as well, as the dollar weakens and yields come under control. So we love that play, and Alibaba is one way we're doing it.
Just quickly here to end. Can the S&P or equity markets continue to rally if we're looking at a 4.5%, maybe 5% on the 10-year?
Yeah, I think bonds are the second most crowded trade behind the Mag 7. I think we're going to see a 4% on the 10-year before we see 5%. I know that's unconventional, but as you know by now, I'm pretty unconventional. And that will enable us, the market looks like it wants to break out here, but February tends to be a choppy period. I think we will get to new highs, but I think the index returns for the year are going to be a bit subdued, 8 to 12%. And find your opportunities elsewhere in the broadening.
Well, Tom Hayes, we always appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.
Meanwhile, just